What's up everyone and welcome to the Quarantine. I'm your host Wolf and today we're going to take a look at Oreshika Tainted Bloodlines, developed by Alpha System, published by Sony Computer and Entertainment, available on the PlayStation Vita. As normal, I'm going to start out by saying I have not beaten Oreshika. I've logged about 30 hours or so into the game, and I'm at the final boss, and I'll explain a little bit later why. The game doesn't have a way to tell exactly how much time you've logged, but I think it's roughly 35-ish hours. So starting the game, you're going to create your family first. Notably you, yourself, and then your siblings are going to just be based on what you look like. You give him or her a name, select one of three, or actually three of something like 8 different classes, and that's what you and your brothers or sisters are going to start with, because you're going to start out with 3 people. Oreshika is a JRPG that takes place in feudal Japan. It has several really neat things going for it, but boiled down it is basically a standard JRPG, so this review may not be as long as some of my others, because, again, I mean it's a basic JRPG, but it does have some really cool things mixed into it, and I'll explain. One of the most prominent being the genetic system. Your family basically gets put under a curse where you only live for 2 years, you age rapidly, and on top of that, no more snoo with mortals. You from here on out can only breed with gods. However, the gods won't breed with you unless you show them that you're worthy by earning devotion points that you earn through combat fighting demons. After you make sweet whoopee with your choice of god or goddess, the child will stay with them for the first month of their life. Then they come live with you and they look like they're 16-ish. They still can't be used, however, for the first 2 months of their life. They're training. They can't be breed until they're 8 months old, which sounds awful. This, mixed with the fact that apparently it takes about a month to mate with a god, it must be some really good stuff. A month solid of just divine sexy time. Adventuring into the dungeons is pretty neat. When you first start the game, it's going to randomly generate 2 dungeons for you using stock dungeon resources, meaning the game has something like 12 different dungeons, but the layouts are different every playthrough. Because of this, however, the second object that you have to find, for me anyways, the RNG screwed me really hard. It wound up taking me something like 3 years in-game to find this stupid item, because it was random, and I couldn't even get fed up and just Google it and use a guide. This also happened on, you may or may not have heard about it, the dreaded hot springs. Man, that place was fucking annoying. However, if you do find a specific combination in the hot springs, you actually wind up getting to an area that has access to every key in the game. It is incredibly useful. There is a guide that I found out later that actually gives you the different patterns you can take. There's like one of like 6 different patterns, so it's incredibly difficult to try to figure it out by yourself, and I actually stumbled across the key one accidentally. The game is basically going to have you find 6 festival items that were stolen. 1 month during the year will be what's called the Feast of All Demons, a time where you get access to the main villain. Problem is, however, finding the stupid entrance can be rage-inducing like you've never raged before. It can get really annoying because, again, it's random, so you can't even use a guide if you've been wasting all of this time, because you only get to do it once a year. You'll probably wind up doing what I did, save right before you, on the month of the Feast of All Demons, save, venture out into the dungeon, hunt for it, because time passes, it's like 5 minutes per month while you're running around in a dungeon. So, save, go into the dungeon, try to find the entrance. If you don't by the end of the month, just close the game, boot it back up, load your save, do it again, try a different route, and just do that over and over and over and over and over again until you find this stupid part. The third one, either second or third, it was the hardest one to find for me, not counting the hot springs. Again, while in the dungeons, you're going to have about 5 minutes for the month, as time flows normally while you're in the dungeon, so you do have to be quick about it. However, it's not going to be that easy. You have a sprint feature, and to use this sprint feature, it costs stamina, and if your stamina goes below a certain amount, you run the risk of losing vigor. And the lower your vigor, the faster vigor falls, and the closer they're going to die. Because once your vigor hits 0, your character will die. They can die before it, and there's a couple other smaller systems that go into play in this, but it is a fairly complicated, but really, really tense and really, really cool system. It winds up being a constant struggle for, I need to find this dungeon, but I'm going to kill this person in the process. You can literally run your people to death, and I really like that in the game. The timer that I refer to is in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. It's the little blue flames that sometimes can turn orange based on certain events, but that's what tracks the time left. Once all those flames extinguish, time's up, and it's the end of the month, and you get a little pop-up that asks, do you want to continue for the cost of potentially vigor, or do you want to just go back home and rest up and whatnot. So it's a pretty cool system. While in combat, I was reading that somebody tested, and again, I don't know how accurate this is, don't have the time to test this, but somebody went into combat and managed to drag it out for 100 turns, and it cost them 4 flames on the lowest difficulty. I don't know how accurate this is, however, but I've read it in 2 different places, so I guess take that however you want. Because the difficulty level that you choose in the beginning of the game does determine how long it's going to take for you to beat the game. The amount of XP that you get, the amount of money that you get, and the amount of time that passes for each turn in the fight. So it's a kind of a neat little system. You can drag the game out to 100 hours, or you can play it, I think the lowest difficulty is like 30 hours or something like that. The special moves in the game, there's 2 different kinds. There's your, I guess, quote, end quote, spells. But then there's your secret arts that you have to unlock through various means. And those use vigor, which again is your family's life force. So it gets really stressful when you're fighting a boss and you have these moves that can do lots of damage to them, but your characters are going to die, and you want to keep them alive so you can get back home and breed with them to pass their stats down to a younger generation, but if they die you can't obviously do that. So again, it's a really, really cool system. The loot system, honestly, I hate. I mean, it's not bad, I just don't give me the illusion of being able to choose or have any sway, because you don't. Basically, you get this little roulette wheel in combat, and you hit X or it'll actually stop by itself, and it doesn't really matter when you hit X. You have no control really over it, but they'll stop on 3 different items, and that's what you're going to get during the fight. However, some items are green, which those green ones correspond to missing gods and goddesses. Only, I think, 2/3 of the gods are actually available to you when you start the game. You actually have to achieve these conditions to unlock the green items, because you'll never actually land on them unless you fulfill the requirement to get the green item. But again, the problem is you're never told, never given a hint. The name of the item doesn't give you a hint. Nothing. So it's annoying trying to find these, because it could range anything from kill 60 of this one kind of enemy to attack this one enemy with this kind of weapon or this specific weapon. So it's super, super annoying, and I cannot stand this. I would have liked keep that exactly like that, but let me find scriptures or papers around just randomly that might give me a hint on how to do it. So that way now I have to try to figure out, okay, well, it said this. Well, maybe if I try this, fighting these guys, maybe that will release the god. But no, you literally just wind up killing everything over and over and over again and just hope that that's what you need, or maybe accidentally attack the right guy with the right weapon. So again, I hate the loot system. And the game, about 99% of the time, is going to feel really easy. The only trouble I ever wound up having is trying to find the stupid portals to the Feast of All Demons. Then you get to the final boss. He is such a bullshit high difficulty spike that literally comes out of nowhere, that according to several forums requires a shitload of grinding, several generations, and buffed up heirlooms in order to still struggle through him. I wound up raging and turning it off. I played it non-stop for 4 days and then hit that wall, and I'm probably going to take a break for a while and try again in a few weeks or a couple months or so. And, I have other things I want to play right now, and then maybe try to. I don't have any problems with grinding. I've logged probably 98 hours or so into Persona 3. Parasite Eve, I've logged thousands of hours into that. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Persona 4, I've logged 70 hours into it. Chrono Cross, I logged, I don't know, 80 some odd hours into it. I don't have a problem with grinding. Hell, I'm playing Criminal Girls right now, and I think I've logged 60 hours into it. I have no problem with grinding. If it's consistent and I have to grind through consistently through the game, no problem. But when the game is fairly easy, requires little to no grinding, and you're still plowing through everything like it's nothing, and then suddenly it goes, well, now you have to grind for about 10 hours. No. Fuck that noise. Which, that also all brings me into another really cool thing that the game does do, is heirlooms. You want to get these as early as possible. It's essential. Basically, you have to pay a shitload of money for this item that starts off really bad. They're terrible. But every time the family member that the item is attached to, I guess you'd call it, levels up, the weapon also has a chance to level up as well. So when it's passed from one member to another after they're passing, it also might get really cool abilities. So you wind up just getting these obscenely powerful weapons later on in the game if you got them really early. Like my Fang sword is absurdly powerful. But again, I still barely do any damage to that stupid boss at the end of the game. The visuals, in my opinion, are outstanding. It's a mix between anime and like old school Japanese oil paintings that blend really, really well. The filter that they use to make it look like an oil painting is awesome. It all has a very unique aesthetic to it, so that it's just really, really appealing to the eyes. Everything is just really nice to look at. The story unfolds for the most part through in-game footage, but occasionally flashes these gorgeously animated cutscenes that are fully voiced in Japanese, but I prefer it that way anyways. The monsters you encounter are all taken from ancient Japanese mythology. They're basically 2D cutouts on what looks like a stage. It's overall really nice, and it fits the overall tone of the game. The audio is also really well done, very fitting of the era and setting the mood extremely well. And Kochin is so goddamn kawaii. I just had to throw that in. The story in Oreshika is decent enough so far, being at the final boss. Honestly, right now it seems like my family was just at the wrong place at the wrong time, but maybe all that'll be explained in a little more detail, after maybe beating the final boss eventually. Other than that, though, the story is pretty good. There's a few times where I stared at my Vita in disbelief about some bombshell that was just dropped, so the storyline isn't bad, it just seems like it might not be that great. Lastly, there is one part in the game where you have to acquire this character. And I'm not going to spoil it, but you will never be rid of her, and it takes up one of your valuable slots, and you always have to bring her to the Feast of All Demons, and it is so annoying. Honestly, I think the game would have been twice as good not forcing me to take her. She's vital to the story, but she's really annoying constantly having to bring her with you. So she can't also equip heirloom weapons, so you can't even use her to level up heirlooms. So I cannot stand the fact that they shoehorn that character in. Overall, would I recommend Oreshika Tainted Bloodlines? Honestly, this is a hard one. I really want to say yes. I loved Oreshika, and it's only 20 bucks for a 2.8 digital-only download. It's beautiful as hell, loads of fun. However, the insanely stupid difficulty spike at the end of the game really, really turned me off. Like I said, I don't mind a hard game, or even one that I have to grind. I actually kind of enjoy grinding. Turn on some Star Trek, sit back, grind, have fun. It's fun. But don't make me play through 30 hours of a game without ever needing to grind and be fairly easy, and then suddenly turn the dial up to 11 at the final boss. That just pisses me off. Consistency, people. Consistency is what is key here. Maybe it's a stupid thing to gripe about. I don't know. But if you do have time, then hell yes. You will not go wrong with Oreshika. Just again, keep in mind, you will have to grind at the end of the game. Don't bother grinding the rest of it because the game is already easy. Really easy. Then you get to the final boss and you're going to have to grind probably for 5 to 10 hours. I mean, that's probably exaggeration, but you get the idea. Thanks for watching, guys. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time in the quarantine.